Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by Orlando Homes Express, brokered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit WeSellOrlando.net. What's happening tonight, fans, and welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, and Brian Murphy with you. On a rainy Thursday morning is when we're recording this here in Orlando. But well, 2 wins for basketball last night on a Wednesday night. That's why we're recording this on Thursday morning, and nothing really to sneeze about. All the I don't know, concerned at all. We'll figure it out as we go along. Remember to follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, UCF_Banneret on Twitter. Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. Brian Murphy, how are you?
Good, Jeff. I enjoy how you preface 2 wins by basketball teams with concern.
You're right. Yeah. Well,
this is Jeff staying on brand of panic all the time.
Either that or I'm just an accurate reflection of our fan base. Eric Lopez, what's going on, man?
I am doing fantastic. Last episode, Murph was the one that was on very not a lot of sleep due to work. This week it's my turn. I'm not in a lot of sleep. That's because I chose to stay up to watch Rafael Nadal beat the crap out of Stefanos Tsitsipas in the Australian Open semifinal. I'm looking forward to hearing why the men's basketball team has any concern.
We all have to be proud of something, I guess. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. We've got a lot to talk about men's basketball. Women's basketball, we'll talk a little bit about the men's team's chances of getting into the tournament. We will talk about women's basketball. Really, the concern I thought was a little bit about them because they got taken to overtime by ECU, and Kay Kay Wright is hurt. Actually rolled her ankle in that game. Still managed to play, but blowing a 10-point lead in the fourth to start the fourth. Yeah, they pulled it out in overtime, but it wasn't pretty. And we'll also talk AAF, Alliance of American Football, and the Orlando Apollos and the UCF guys that are there with, believe it or not, a UCF guy, Tom Alexander, the team reporter for the Orlando Apollos, an old buddy of ours, Eric Lopez, from our WNSC days as students joining us.
I co-hosted radio shows with him as a student radio back in the day.
Right. So did I.
It's good.
So it's
we all did.
We all did. Yeah,
He's got the last laugh right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm happy. I'm super happy for Tommy because what a cool place for a cool guy like him to work. So we'll talk with him about the AAF and what's going to be happening on campus at UCF at Spectrum Stadium, where the Apollos are going to be playing. All the former UCF guys on the roster. That should be fun. And we'll talk a little bit about tennis opening up their season for UCF and the some contract extensions in the UCF Hall of Fame getting restarted a little bit here. Something that we've been talking about for a while, but that's on our agenda for a little bit later on. Right now, however, let us talk about UCF basketball. Let's start with the men's team, who part of the reason why we're recording this morning is they and the women's team played last night. The men's team was at New Orleans and just disposed of Tulane. Tulane's last place in the American anyway, but did what they were supposed to do. 75-50 was the final. They held Tulane to a remarkably consistent 9 of 27 from the field in each half. 33% for the game. The Knights were up 22 at the half and just stiff-armed them the rest of the way. For UCF, it was another great day for Aubrey Dawkins, 7 of 13, 19 points. BJ Taylor added 17 on 8 of 15. Colin Smith was in double figures again with 11. And the Knights continue to do, I guess, exactly what they're supposed to do, Brian Murphy. They advance in their schedule to 15-3, 5-1 in the American. No real surprise, but, after that loss to Wichita State, where it seemed like everything went Wichita's way, you couldn't really let them beat you twice. And what does UCF do? Well, they beat Tulsa in a last-second game where they struggled throughout the whole game, but then came back in the second half and then held off Tulsa for the win at home. And then you go and you take care of business against Tulane by 25. I don't know about you, but that kind of gives me, as a fan, a little bit more confidence in this team after a loss like that to Wichita, don't you think?
Well, yeah, you'd much rather see, like, for a game like this with Tulane, you much rather see them win by 25 than win by 4.
Right.
Which is actually what happened with Memphis when they went to Tulane a couple weeks ago, which we'll get to them in Memphis later. I screwed up that segue. That segue should have been saved for later on in this conversation. But I don't know if we learned anything from this game last night. Like, UCF didn't need to shoot 50% from the floor to win this game. They were hot shooting in the first half. They probably didn't need all that hot shooting to win comfortably, but they still got it. Tulane had 19 turnovers, and there was some good UCF defense and deflections and whatnot. Some of it just Tulane is just awful. It is really, like, they're one of the 50 worst teams in basketball, and
they're pretty bad.
350 teams. So I mean, there's a large gap between them and the next worst team in the conference. It really is. They are in a realm by themselves at the bottom of the AAC, and so UCF does what they should do, and that sets up a really intriguing, important, big Sunday game in Memphis, which is kind of the end of this little road trip. It prefaces 2 home games coming up, and we talked about after that Wichita State game. That they had this stretch where they had 6 games in about 18 days. And if they went 5-1, you would be absolutely over the moon. Yeah, that would be really solid. I think 4-2 is expected. And now they've got themselves set up with a win at Memphis to go, or at least put themselves in position to go 5-1, because then after that they come back home and face UConn. But if they lose in Memphis, now you have to beat UConn to go 4-2 in this stretch. If you win at Memphis, you said you'll have to go 5-1 in this 6-game stretch, and that's really, I think, something that you can, it's a segment of the schedule that is pretty impressive.
I think that the key to these 2 wins after Wichita has been Colin Smith, in particular. Obviously we talked about how he had double figures last night against the Green Wave, but I thought he was fantastic against Tulsa. Even though his box score didn't look overly impressive, he did score 13 points. He was only 3 of 9 from the field, but he was 7 of 8 from the line, and he caused havoc in the second half on the interior for the Knights. So, and even at times when Taco Fall had to leave the game, especially in the Tulsa game, where Tulsa just couldn't guard anybody down low. But again, for some reason they just didn't bother to feed guys like Taco down low until they decided to get on that run in the second half when the Knights were down and at a point where it looked like Tulsa was hitting. It looked like Tulsa was hitting everything in that game, but Colin Smith, I think, was instrumental to leading them back. No.
Well, they tried to, though, right, Murph? I mean, they tried to go inside. They just couldn't make a shot in the first half.
Well, again, they talked about how the zone defense that Tulsa plays is kind of unique. There's not many teams that play it. So they had trouble kind of, shooting over that zone. They would go inside, which is really their only offense. But again, Taco was in foul trouble. We can't say well, they tried to establish him and they couldn't do it. Like, he didn't play a whole lot, especially in the second half, because he picked up a technical, which is a personal foul. So it was really upon Colin Smith to be the offense in the post. They had to go to the post because it was the only thing that was really working. And he's their best offensive option when Taco's not on the floor, obviously. He really could be their most well-rounded offensive option as a post player, period. And he came through. And I think you saw that again last night as well. Taco picked up 2 early fouls. Taco and Chad Brown both had 2 fouls early on. So that's why you saw Colin play a lot more minutes. He played 17 minutes in the first half, and that's why his box score looks pretty good, because they need him to come in and give minutes down low. And I'll tell you what, Colin Smith, so he's had like a game and a half where he's been really good. Maybe his best 60 minutes of basketball have come in the past few days. He was really bad in the first half against Tulsa. And they're going to need him again against Memphis. He's going to be huge. With Memphis pushing the ball up and down the floor, they run a top 10 pace. I think they're 7th in the nation in pace. And that is not Taco's game. We've seen him get neutralized pretty heavily against teams that really run the ball up and down, with a team that can be athletic at all spots. So this is going to be a Colin Smith game again. If they're going to score in the low post, he's going to need to come up big again this Sunday.
Well, as we look at this is the part where, we're approaching February. Now we got to start paying attention to positioning for the tournament, because UCF right now, they are right smack dab in the middle of the 30s in those net rankings. They're at 35th, behind Florida State and Cincinnati, just 2 spots behind Cincinnati. 1 spot ahead of Indiana and Florida. Memphis, interestingly enough, is in the 60s right now, at 66th. Now, they've
been moving up.
They have been, yeah. Houston, by the way, 7th. And I wanted to bring this up because, and I want to credit Matt Brown from the mothership at SB Nation for bringing my attention to this. I'd never seen this. The Bracket Matrix. If you go to bracketmatrix.com, this is interesting. I kind of nerded out about this. It basically aggregates 87 different bracket prediction establishments, if you will, and aggregates them all into one sort of master seeding sort of, matrix. Right now, yes. They have UCF as a 10 seed and kind of the lowest of the 10 seeds. The Knights are in only 66 of the 87 brackets, and to put that into perspective, somewhere in the neighborhood, basically every team that's a 6th seed is listed in all 80, from 1 through 6. It's all the way down to that. I think we have 2 of the 4 7 seeds are ranked in all of them. 1 of the 8 seeds is ranked in all of them. And so here are some of the teams that are around UCF in this bracket matrix. Seton Hall, Texas, St. John's are above UCF as 10 seeds. The 11 seeds they have Minnesota, Washington, Butler, Arizona State, and Arizona. So, and of course they do account for, and the reason why they have those extra 11 seeds is because they do account for the play-in game. So, looking at this, right now, of the at-large teams that they're saying, the teams that will get at-large bids, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. UCF there are 5 at-large teams just below UCF in terms of what they're predicting, at least. So, do you guys agree with that? UCF right now looking like an if it goes to the at-large, that they would be a 10 seed right now, because I'm getting a lot of mixed messages. I'm hearing people talk about how the conference should have 4 bids, and I agree with that because they've been so good. But then I'm hearing a lot of people who aren't that high on the Americans. So I don't know. What do you think about the chances are? And I guess Murph will start with you.
Oh, good. Can I subvert this entirely?
Of course. Why not?
Can I completely cut this conversation off at the knees?
Okay, go for it.
So last year, remember Oklahoma with Trae Young? Mm-hmm. And they had the first bracket announcement, and Oklahoma was a 4. Even though they were coming off a losing streak, they were like, wow, they're a top 4 seed in the first bracket announcement. And we're not even at that point in this season yet. And they were 4. They ended up as a 10 because they were so bad down the stretch. People said they shouldn't have even gotten in the tournament. Probably Trae Young is the reason why they got in the tournament to begin with. And to end with, to have this conversation in January is asinine. And that's all I will say. Eric?
Let's continue to be asinine. Go for it.
Well, Murph, as someone who's actually working on a preseason softball bracket for basketballnews.com, I really appreciate the excitement over brackets out in January, all right? Point taken, first of all. I mean, to Murph's point, he's got a point. I mean, there's so much basketball to go. that things could change in a dime. I mean, one bad look at Temple's a great example. Temple a week ago was solidly in, and then they lost to Penn. And that's why Temple now has dropped into the 60s in the net, and they're in the outside looking in. And that's the one negative in the league. That's why, don't sniff at the Tulane win. I mean, I know they're terrible, and they are. I mean, Mike Dunleavy, and this, again, credit to Danny White. This is a difference. You know, I'm going to enter my inner Kurt's jerks when they used to chant good coach, bad coach. We saw that in display here with Johnny Dawkins compared to Mike Dunleavy in college basketball. So props to Danny White on that, because as Tulane has shown, a bad hire could set your program way back. But as far as this, I think UCF's a 9 or a 10 seed. I think that's very valid, from that standpoint. I mean, the American right now is looking at a 3-bid league with Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF. And UCF currently would be the second or third team, depending on how you rate them against Cincinnati. The thing that UCF's got going for them is the win against Alabama keeps looking better and better. Alabama just crushed Ole Miss this week. They've beaten Kentucky. The negative is that FAU loss. It's a bad loss, and that's really the only reason why UCF's probably a 9 or a 10 seed instead of a 7 or an 8 seed. What's fascinating to me is with Memphis and Penny Hardaway, who in his first year here, this is a huge week for Memphis. This UCF-Memphis game has turned out to be a bigger game than I think we even anticipated before the season. Memphis, as we record this, will be playing Temple Thursday night. That is a huge game. And then after that, they host UCF. Memphis, if they were to beat Temple and UCF this week, I think they get themselves into the conversation for the NCAA tournament in Penny Hardaway's first year. Now, as Murph can attest to, since we both saw them, Tubby Smith did not leave him the cover bare. They got some good players. But Penny's done a nice job, Murph, and I know you're heading up there. That's a huge game with Memphis 4-1 in the conference. And Temple, they're going to be playing this in Philadelphia on Thursday night, and then Memphis will host UCF. That is a huge game for both UCF and Memphis this early in the year.
It's a big week for Memphis. It's a program ahead of schedule, and it's a program that, while they can be competitive, and yes, if they have a good week here, Memphis can be in the conversation for the tournament. Looking at the future of this Memphis program, they're going to dominate this conference. I think in short order.
Oh, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. Please, no.
Within 2 to 3 years, you look at the kids that Penny's already bringing in. He's already got the number 1 recruit from the incoming high school class. It's going to be scary. And I don't know if it's going to be Calipari great, but that's what we're looking at with this Memphis team in 2 to 3 years.
Investigate. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, no, look, in all honesty, though, Murph, if you're Mike Oresco and you're the American, that's music. That's exciting news, because I think the one thing that's hurt the American, at least from a perception standpoint, Jeff, what you were kind of alluding to about, is I think a lot of people thought Memphis and Connecticut would be a lot better. They've kind of not really carried their own weight in the league.
It's
since Calhoun left, or obviously Kevin Ali won the national title early on, but they've kind of fallen on hard times. And Memphis, under Pashner at the end there, just wasn't what they were. That's kind of hurt the league a little bit. I think they banked on Memphis and Connecticut to be a lot better. And I do think with Penny Hardaway and the way he can recruit, we don't know if he's a great coach, but in college you don't have to be a great coach if you're a great recruiter. With him and Hurley now at UConn, that's positives for the league moving forward. I agree with Murph on that. I don't know about the dominating part, but I do think Memphis is on the rise.
It's funny that you mention that, because I do think that there's this perception problem with the American, with the West Coast Conference too, where if you don't have those brand names that everyone knows that are good, they just assume that the league is bad when it actually probably isn't. We've seen how good Houston is, but there's just this assumption that because Memphis and UConn are not up to snuff as they usually are, that it's a bad year for the American. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think that, for example, Houston is any worse than maybe Memphis would be in a good year, or UConn for that matter.
Well, I think you're right. I think the name is a good point, because I think you look at the Big East, like Villanova's down. St. John's is good, but I think Houston's better than St. John's, yet the perception would be that the Big East is far superior to the American. I think the American is actually pretty close to the Big East for that number 5 spot as far as best conference in college basketball. And as we've documented on this podcast, and Murph would know since he used to cover this conference, the Pac-12, I think the American is far superior to the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah,
a lot of things are superior to the Pac-12 right now, which is a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah, well,
it really is.
To be fair, like, looking at this bracket matrix, they do project who the conference winners would be. And they project it to be Washington, and they have Washington as an 11 seed. And to give you an example of who's ahead of them, well, Buffalo in the MAC, Nevada in Mountain West, Marquette in the Big East.
Those teams are great.
Yeah,
those teams are great.
Houston,
but those teams are great.
Yeah.
The problem, so what you can just say like Washington as the conference winner would be an 11 seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Can you imagine? Because Buffalo's fantastic. Marquette is really good with Marcus Howard, who can put up 50 on any night. Mm-hmm. Nevada could go back to the Elite Eight. But when you look at the Pac-12, we're getting way off course, but this is kind of what I like. Can you imagine the Pac-12 being a one-bid league? And this is not a new conversation. People have been talking about this for about a month and a half because this league is awful, and it could very well be a one-bid league. So and that
it should be.
If you want to it should be. Right now, it should be. And so if you want to draw it back to the AAC, that opens up spots you didn't think you had, especially with the Big Ten not being as great at the middle right now. Teams like Ohio State are dropping. So now you've got power conferences probably not going to get as many bids as we thought in the preseason. And that does open up more opportunity for your Temples and your Memphises if they get hot, and teams teams like conferences like the American.
Yeah, it's true. They do have Arizona State also in the field, at least at this point. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we're even having that discussion about one of these supposed power conferences being maybe even a one-bid league, I think really shows you the parity of college basketball now, and certainly the American is a beneficiary of that. So Pac-12 having as many bids as the American is, I could see that.
Put it this way: the Tulsa team that UCF just beat, who's 2-4 in the conference, knocked off Kansas State, who I think might be the second best team in the Big 12 and is a Final Four contender.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. So I'll have to keep an eye on this, and we will definitely mention, obviously, that Memphis game coming up on Sunday at 4 p.m. on CBS Sports Network is going to be big.
There.
And Murph is going to be there. We're going to have a live blog up. So we will have that.
That's why he's going. Is for the live blog.
Yeah, and by the way, key to that coming back home, like you said, Murph, that home game against UConn, you got a nice rest after that, Sunday to Thursday.
Right. That's why we look at this 6-game segment as we do, because after that UConn game, then you get a week to prepare for a home game against Houston.
Yeah. So. And funny how the schedule actually works out in UCF's favor this year with all that. So that's a look at the men's team, at least as of right now. 15-3, 5-1 in the American, and 10-1 at home. So, and of course, like we mentioned, that next game on the road at Penny Hardaway in Memphis. Boy, that sounds weird saying. All right. Let's flip over to the women's side, who also played on Wednesday night. And got the victory over ECU, but that doesn't really tell the entire story of this game. First of all, early in the game, UCF seemed to take control fairly early. They were up double figures, and then Kay Kay Wright on a play, I didn't see it. Maybe you did, Eric, because you were watching the game. Kay Kay rolls her ankle, and so she has to leave. Still, UCF kind of held them at bay. As they started the second half, Coach Abe put KK back in there to kind of give the team a little bit of a spark in Greenville. And that worked, at least for the time being. But then in the fourth quarter, ECU comes storming back. The Knights were up 10 at the start of the fourth. But ECU erases that lead and forces overtime. And KK misses a three that would have, first of all, it was ECU hit a three to tie the game with 10 seconds left. And then KK misses a three at the horn, and to overtime we go all of a sudden. And in the overtime, let's just say it wasn't exactly the most picturesque exhibition of basketball. UCF outscores ECU 5-2 in the overtime frame. They shoot 1 of 8 from the field in OT, and were only saved by the fact that ECU shot 0 for 7 in OT. Their only 2 points came on foul shots. So Man, it wasn't pretty, but once again, it seems like we see this quite frequently with this team. It's not pretty, but they get the job done, 61-58 in overtime, and the Knights, once again, just tally another American Athletic Conference win, 6-0 in the league, tied at the top with UConn, 17-2 overall, and that, by the way, is heading into a game in Hartford on Sunday against Gino and the UConn Huskies at 4 p.m. on ESPN2. Eric Lopez, I know you watched a bit of that game, and we watched from last weekend. They took care of business against SMU in a really sort of wild game before they headed out on the road. But I'm really concerned about this Kay Kay Wright injury, as I know you are. But what do you do from here? What are the concerns that I think Coach Abe has to be working on here in the next 4 days until the UConn game?
Well, here's the positive. She did come back in the game. Not that Coach Abe was happy that she had to bring her back in. In fact, she mentioned in the postgame, what helped them get over the hump in overtime. She's like, Kay Kay Wright, bringing her back in because they definitely struggled without her. And, she turned her ankle late in the first quarter, missed the entire second quarter, came back to start the third quarter. They got up to about an 8 to 10 point lead. They took her out late in the third, didn't come back till late in the fourth when it got close again, and played overtime. So the good news is, whatever the ankle injury is, it's not serious to the point where there's nothing like, oh, she can't walk or anything like that. That being said, clearly if you watch the telecast, she was not 100%.
Right.
And so to me, I think, and this might sound crazy, but you're playing a big showdown game with UConn. It's a nationally televised game on ESPN2. If she's not 100% with that ankle, which she may not, if she's not even, if she's 90, 80%, I would sit her out. I would sit her out and give her a week off, because as big as UConn is, let's be realistic. By the way, UConn just thumped SMU by 40. That's what they did on Wednesday night. So they're doing their thing. This UConn game is not the biggest game for UCF. The biggest games for UCF moving forward is Houston on Wednesday. You want to make sure you lock up that 2 seed. Right now, UCF's got a 2-game lead on the pack on Cincinnati,
right.
Tulane, Houston, Tulsa, Memphis. So, and if things go to plan for UCF, they've put themselves in position to be an NCAA tournament team, even if they don't, not win the conference. The thing that could hurt that is if Kay Kay Wright misses significant time, and now all of a sudden you're losing some games to some teams that hurt you on the resume. So I think they got to protect her, and I think they will, and I would not be surprised if she doesn't play Sunday against UConn. That gives her a week to prepare for a home game against Houston and for down the stretch. Plus, this won't even be the most important UConn game on your schedule for UCF. They're going to host UConn later in the year, which I think is a bigger game because it's at home. You're going to have a chance to probably have the biggest crowd played at home. Granted, most of them will be from UConn, but nonetheless, you have a chance to have some casual fans come out to see your product. And then if things go as planned and you're the number 2 seed and you take care of business in the conference tournament, you'll probably see UConn in the championship game of the American. So I don't expect to see Kay Kay play unless somehow she is 100% with her ankle between now and Sunday, and we won't know that obviously until tip time. So that was a scary situation because they clearly struggled, Jeff, offensively without her. They just could not run much offense. They turned the ball over. That was what got East Carolina back in. They forced some turnovers. But as I mentioned to you in the last episode, this team is going to still win on defense. And defensively, they shut down East Carolina at overtime. Just like in the SMU game, they were down, 9 going into the fourth quarter and outscored SMU 24-4 in the fourth quarter. Defense, when this team lights it up defensively, it helps them create baskets for other players offensively. Because you're right, when they are not forcing turnovers and they're playing half court, it basically all goes through Kay Kay. And when she's not on the court, they struggle.
Yeah, some of the other players, Kay Kay finished in single figures with only 8 points and 4 rebounds. Leading scorers for UCF against ECU, Nye Schuler, who's not known as a scoring threat, had a fantastic game, 10 points, 12 boards, and she was 5 of 6 from the field. Sidney McDonald was 2 of 9, but both of those were threes, so she finished with 10 points. 8 points for Jamisha Paul, but I think that you're right. I think that if you, my main concern is, what do you do when not necessarily UConn, but especially if Kay Kay is going to be banged up for the remainder of the year. Even if she plays every game, if you're not 100%, you're not 100%. So who picks up that scoring load and takes some of the pressure off of her? Is it Sydney? Is it Jamisha Paul? Do you bring somebody off the bench?
What they would tell you is it could be coming from anybody. It was Sydney McDonald in the SMU game, right? It could come from anybody. So they have players that have the ability to do it. They just don't have that consistent number two, but they do have players that can chip in. And from a defensive standpoint, that's a good thing. Sometimes you don't know where the scoring is going to come from. It's tough to defend. So you would like to think good teams usually, when their star player is out, they'll step up and contribute. I think you saw that a little bit in the East Carolina win. The concerning thing is, though, forget the scoring, is running the offense. And that's what Kay Kay does. She runs that offense, and they struggle with her off the court. That's going to be the concern, especially if she doesn't play against UConn. Although, let's be honest, I think you're going to have problems against UConn. UConn is a different level. Even if Kay Kay is 100% healthy, I would say UConn's at least a 20, 25-point favorite. Right? That's kind of how they roll. And so,
well, it's like we always say, you kind of have to throw that game out in a way.
Although I will say this, UConn kind of went through the motions against South Florida, who's got their own injury issues, and USF hung with them. And Gino even said on the post game that he felt his team was immature because they kind of took the game for granted. Because, USF is banged up. They don't have Loxa. They don't have so-and-so. Maybe UConn takes UCF lightly here, especially if Kay Kay doesn't play. Maybe they let their guard down. And, UCF matches up well from UConn from the style standpoint. They're not going to run with UConn, and they can defend. They held UConn to their fewest points last year when they played at UCF. So would it surprise me if UCF was competitive with them? No. The problem is going to be, I don't, especially if Kay Kay doesn't play, they're going to have a hard time scoring against UConn like many teams do.
Right. Yeah. Well, funny how UConn picks the USF game to kind of get a little bit of a scare in terms of their effort. They couldn't have come up with that effort against UCF, huh? Well, anyway. So and yet here we are, worried and panicking and all that. Well, here I am. Worried and panicking.
Yeah, you, not me and Murph, right, Murph?
You guys never panic. And they're 17-2 and 6-0 in the league. So
that started the history of the program.
Right.
Started the history of the program. Charlie Cream, who's the Joe Lunardi of women's basketball, has them as a 9 to a 10 seed, I think, in the women's bracket as an at-large. Their RPI is, I think, in the 17 range, I believe.
17th.
So, things are great. 6-0 in the league.
I guess it's because I feel like we haven't seen, I feel like we haven't seen the absolute best of this team yet. I think that's why. There's always kind of been, something's not working, and that is a good thing. I guess I kind of feel like they haven't had their best stretch yet. They haven't peaked yet, so maybe they will in the next couple games.
Well, and I could say the same for the men's team, and I think that's
fair.
A good thing. You don't want to be peaking right now. When you want to be peaking is about a month from now to get down the stretch.
True, but it leaves you wondering, when will we ever have that moment? You know what I mean? When it hasn't happened yet, which is such a fan thing to say, but
I was going to say this team is 17-2. Let me repeat that.
Yeah,
17-2, 6-0 in the conference. Charlie Cream has them as a 10 seed playing Missouri in Palo Alto. This would be the first time in the history of the program in the Division I era they would make the NCAA tournament as an at-large.
Right.
And you're not, and you're concerned.
I need to. I'm just going to shut up.
You're listening to this, Murph.
How should I be surprised or I'm not concerned about Jeffrey's concern because I wouldn't know I would be concerned if he wasn't concerned.
Right.
Then we know that someone hijacked Jeff Sharon.
If I'm concerned, that's when every one of you guys is worried. If I am concerned, neither of you guys are concerned. So, all right, I'm going to shut up now so we can go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk football. Tom Alexander, an old buddy of ours and the team reporter for the Orlando Apollos of the AAF, the Alliance, several former UCF players on that roster. Steve Spurrier, the head coach, they're playing their home games on campus at Spectrum Stadium. He gives us a little insight into the league, into the team, what to expect if you're a UCF fan from this team that'll be playing on UCF's field in the next couple months as they start their season on February 9th, the weekend after the Super Bowl. Don't go away. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Back after this. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by Orlando Homes Express, brokered by eXp Realty. Sam Unger and his team at Orlando Homes Express proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. Sam is a very proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and he's got a special deal going on right now for the 2018 UCF football season. Night fans, in honor of UCF's 25-game win streak, Sam is running a special for the whole month of December. If you use him as your realtor to buy or sell your home, you'll receive up to $2,500 at closing. So, if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, upgrade or downsize, Sam and his team have you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give them a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit them on the web at WeSellOrlando.net. Again, that's WeSellOrlando.net. You can also reach them on Facebook at Facebook.com/WeSellOrlando. Get in touch with Orlando Homes Express today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Eric Lopez here, and when you're not listening to me on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast yelling at Jeff Sharon or talking baseball with Brian Murphy, you can actually listen to me on another podcast with a fellow UCF alum, a lot smarter, Victor Anderson and I, as we host In the Circle on Fast Pitch News twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. We cover all the world of softball, so if you're UCFA, we talk UCF, we talk how Coach Gillespie's going to do at Iowa. We talk all the topics in college softball, pro softball, and international softball. So give us a follow on In the Circle SB on Twitter and on Facebook. It's In the Circle on Fast Pitch News twice a week on the podcast. Check us out there. Back now to the Black and Gold Bannerets.
Welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon back here with you. Don't forget to follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, where we are SB Nation's home for UCF sports. Follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret as well as Facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret. All right. I want to talk some football with you for this part of the show. And joining me now is an old buddy of mine, who is, and I mean an old buddy of mine, and going back to when we were friends at UCF and students at UCF, and he's now the team reporter for the Orlando Apollos. That's the Orlando franchise in the new Alliance of American Football. The team will play at Spectrum Stadium. Their opening game is February the 9th against the Atlanta Legends. And a lot of UCF guys on this Orlando team, because the AAF has done what I think very smart thing in regionalizing a lot of the players to franchises relatively near where they went to college. So welcome Tom Alexander, the team reporter for the Orlando Apollos. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, Jeff. I'm glad you clarified that whole old friend thing, because at first I was like, does that mean I'm a friend who happens to be old, or does that mean we go way back?
No. We're quickly approaching that one too. Man, the Orlando Apollos, we've come a long way since the Orlando Stars, huh?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just thinking about that literally the other day, because my wife still has my Stars t-shirt from those days, and I just gave her an Apollos t-shirt. She's like, good, I can finally throw this other one out.
Yeah, I can't believe you even still have that. I must have gotten rid of mine a long time ago. But this is a new breed of football league, and so I'm a huge nerd about leagues like, the USFL and the World League. When we had the Orlando Thunder, the UFL had a franchise in Orlando for a time about 10 years ago. It didn't work out. It's just been such a struggle. But here comes the Alliance of American Football. It's run by a number of former NFL guys. Charlie Ebersol is the son of Dick Ebersol, is the guy who is the founder of the league. Bill Polian is one of the guys in charge of the football operations, along with former NFL players like Hines Ward and Jared Allen and Justin Tuck. Just to name a few. Troy Polamalu is also involved in it. This is a league that the guys who are involved, they're football people, and they're taking it really seriously. So You've been with the team since the new year, and you've been following around some of the guys in the league. How are the Orlando Apollos and the AAF different from all the previous attempts at having a second professional football league in the United States?
I would say the first thing, like you mentioned, the way the alliance is different is the football people involved. Bill Polian is our commissioner. Heinz Ward is our head of football operations. Troy Polamalu heads our player relations side of things, and his department is one of the things that I think is going to be revolutionary in the field. The alliance, like no other league before it, including the NFL, is putting an emphasis not just on player safety but on whole life well-being. The alliance is offering education assistance to players even beyond their playing days are over with the alliance to help them finish their degrees, get a second degree. There are all sorts of mental health services, and overall well-being of players is a huge priority in the alliance to help the players be successful, not just on the football field, but beyond when it's over. And as we've seen in recent years, there's been some controversy about the way pro football players are treated after they're done. And the alliance has really put an emphasis on that. But just the people like that who are involved, and they're not involved in name only. Troy Polamalu and Heinz Ward, not to name drop those guys, but they're league executives, and they are here in training camp in San Antonio pretty much every day. They're at one camp or another. We've got all 8 teams here in San Antonio for training camp right now, and they're around all the time.
Yeah, I did see that they were at that they were in everybody was in San Antonio, which I think is kind of a smart thing to do to kind of get everybody on the same page. And then you guys are heading back to Orlando actually in the next week or so to get started. The team is playing at Spectrum Stadium. Give us for the fans in Orlando who maybe don't know. I mean, I can't imagine they wouldn't know because the team's been doing some pretty good advertising. But maybe for those who don't who merely only know that the Apollos exist at this moment, how is everything going to work, especially for the local fans? How many home games they have? How's the season work and all that kind of stuff?
It's a 10-week season, 5 home games, 5 road games. Then there is. It's an 8-team league, so there's 4 teams in each conference, the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. The top 2 teams in each conference will play a playoff round in early April, and then we will have a championship game April 27th in Las Vegas.
Yeah, so and with these 8 teams, by the way, some big-time head coaches have signed on, and probably no name more popular than the head coach of the Orlando Apollos, Steve Spurrier. You've talked to Coach Spurrier a bunch of times, I'm sure, in the time that you spent in San Antonio with the team. How is he approaching this? Because, this is, he's been out of coaching for a couple years ever since his last years at South Carolina, but coaching never really does seem to leave some of these guys. And I know, and it's because they really do enjoy the opportunity to actually coach. How is Steve enjoying it? And is he really getting the opportunity to just be a coach and not have to worry about all that other stuff?
Yeah, it's funny because we all know Coach Spurrier, the sort of character in the interviews, and how he, especially when he first came on, he sort of jokingly says, "Well, it's only 4 or 5 month job out of the year because our season is February to April and no recruiting year round and all of those things," and he's correct, but. You're right. Coaching never leaves you, and it hasn't left him. He's very hands-on. He is our offensive coordinator. He's our lead quarterbacks coach. He's in there every day mentoring the 4 quarterbacks on our roster right now, and he seems to be happy and excited and glad to be out there coaching and calling plays again.
The team itself, I thought the league was really smart in doing this. They've regionalized the rosters where they basically set aside regions where, if you went to college, I don't know if high school is, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but basically if you went to a college in Florida, you were assigned to the Apollos. And that, I think, is a smart thing that a lot of people who'd speculated about different leagues underneath, say, the NFL should always work. And the Apollos made it work. So there's a bunch of UCF guys on the roster. Tell us who some of the familiar names are to UCF fans who we'll be seeing with this new team.
Well, we have Jeff Godfrey, the former UCF quarterback and wide receiver. We have Vernell Hall. We've got some guys from more recent UCF teams too, like Jaquan Burkett and Tony Garrod. Jordan McCray is a name you might know.
Yep.
Chris Martin on our offensive line as well. So we've got, Aaron Evans is another guy on our roster right now. So we've got guys from both heydays of UCF football. We've got some guys from the Scott Frost era, and we've got some guys from the O'Leary, the Golden O'Leary years, that Fiesta Bowl team here in camp as well.
How have they enjoyed this? Because those guys have all been. I talked to Chris Martin actually at when College Game Day was on campus, and he was really excited about the opportunity because he'd been in NFL camps. He'd gotten hurt a couple times, and he's one of those guys. And there's a bunch of them, and we've seen them all throughout the years. And now you see these guys up close that are right on that gray area of plus or minus 20 guys who one break one way or the other, and they could be a solid NFL player or even a starter in the league. But one thing happens or another, and then all of a sudden they're out of the league. And this league is there to sort of keep them fresh and get and provide resources to the NFL. Now, I know there's not any sort of official relationship between the AAF and the NFL, but this is good for the players because, how do they feel about, the opportunity to not just get on the field, but show off their wares for some of the scouts who may be out there?
Well, it is definitely a second chance league, and to a man, and I'm not even exaggerating, every single player I have spoken with in camp, and it's a lot, is grateful to be here, grateful for the opportunity. They're hungry. They're willing to learn. The coaches have spoken time and time again of not only is the talent level very high in this league and maybe higher than they expected in some cases, but the attitude of the players is excellent up and down the roster, and it's coaches on every team have said that this year so far. It's the football ecosystem hasn't had this for any length of time. We've had other pro football leagues sort of turn up in the U.S. over different times. And, when you look at the number of football players who graduate and leave Division I schools every year, it's, 200,000, thousands, whatever the number is. And there are only a few hundred jobs in the NFL, and then a few dozen more in terms of practice squads and guys on the bubble. So this is a place where those guys who may be on the bubble or like you said, for one reason or another, they get cut in training camp or mini camp, or, they're a 100th of a second slower than somebody on the wrong day, or there's too much depth at this position and they want something else. For whatever reason, this is a place for them to come get 10 games of game speed film with high level talent where they can, that becomes then available to scouts and executives and coaches in the NFL who can look at that and say, all right, well, this guy's hurt, or I need to fill this roster spot mid-season, or we've got an opening on our practice squad. This guy looks really good. Like he didn't look, as good in our mini camp last year when we brought him in, but he's gotten some really high level coaching from guys like Steve Spurrier or Mike Singletary, who are in our league. Mike Martz is a head coach in our league, and we have a lot of great assistants as well. They've gone in, gotten some high level coaching, gotten some playing time, and improved, or at least put more on tape to show people what they can do.
The thing that I think is interesting along those lines is no one from the AAF has said, okay, we're kind of approaching our league as a developmental league from the NFL. But, like you were just saying, that is kind of there. So, we know Charlie Ebersol is basically the founder of the league. And it was interesting. Like he produced that documentary with his dad, Dick Ebersol, and Vince McMahon about the XFL and the revival of the XFL. I thought it was a smart move by the AAF to kind of dive in a year ahead of time in front of the XFL, and they kind of have the pick of the talent. But Charlie's a pretty forward-thinking dude, and how have, from your interactions with him and some of the executives and the coaches and all that, how are they approaching this league different than a lot of the other leagues that we've seen, going back to like the WLAF and the UFL and NFL Europe and those kinds of things?
Well, it's, nobody here shies away from the whole developmental league term. I mean, we are a professional football league and it is football at a high level, but we know also that the goal of all of these players and a lot of the coaches too is to get back to the NFL at this point. And that's success for us when guys get picked up by NFL teams after playing here in the Alliance. But the way Charlie and some of our leadership has said what they've said to us in all of our discussions here in training camp is that the Alliance is a tech company that owns a football league. So we're doing some things with technology that haven't been done in football before, and our app when it launches closer to when the season starts, and some of the things you're going to see in terms of data collection and interactivity that fans will have with the game and with the players and coaches are things that haven't really been tried before. Some of the things we're inventing as we go are proprietary in nature, and so it's really, the Alliance exists not just to grant opportunity to the players and the coaches, but the goal is to give back to the game and improve the game. So there are things being done to make the game safer. The goal is to play with as few injuries as possible in our league. But there's also a technological component and a like I mentioned before, a player wellness component, and things that are being done to just improve football overall. So it's the whole level of thinking is much more, I would say, optimistic and forward-looking than maybe other professional football leagues have been in the past.
And that fan experience too, like you said, that should be pretty interesting because, there's going to be, football in the spring in Spectrum Stadium, and that's not a bad thing at all. Let me ask you about the team in particular because
sure.
It's hard to get a group of, however many players, 40, 50 players on a roster to be a cohesive unit in the span of 3-4 weeks. Guys right. Who've never played together. It's basically you're assembling 8 expansion teams. And one of the things that I think is a big challenge for leagues, and probably the biggest challenge that the Alliance has to overcome in the market is the quality of play question, right? It's always one of the things that I think some previous leagues have always kind of struggled with is that. So what are the Apollos doing in particular to try and make sure that when they hit the field on February 9th for the opener against Atlanta, that this is a well-oiled machine and this team is playing at, it actually looks like a cohesive unit that's not just playing its first game out there ever.
Well, I think some of that comes from the quality and experience of the coaches that we have in the league. Some of it has to do with just the way we're running training camp. Everyone I've spoken with who has been part of an NFL training camp in some form or fashion talks about how this is basically run in that manner with that level of quality and attention to detail. I think some of that also comes from the regional allocations that we have in the Alliance, because you've got guys who maybe haven't played together before, but we've got a lot of guys who did play together before, because we've got some guys who were teammates at Florida State or UCF or Florida, or guys that even if they weren't teammates in college, maybe they were opponents in college, or they played high school ball together or against each other. So a lot of these guys, even if they haven't been on the same team for a while, they knew each other coming in. And given that everyone here is working to get that second shot at their dream of playing professional football, because even if they make, whether they go to the NFL or not, even if they make the final Apollos roster or other Alliance team roster coming out of camp, the salaries are a good living. They won't have to hold down a second job while they're playing in the Alliance. So there's an incentive there for all of them to get to know each other, to work together, overcome whatever differences there might be, and really learn and soak it all in. And the thing I've seen through 2.5 weeks through camp here is that the team really has come together, I think, a lot faster than anyone expected. The level of competition, not only for positions, but when we've had, say we had a joint practice last week with the Arizona Hotshots, the level of play and the level of talent on the field has really surprised everyone. I think when week 1 rolls around on February 9th, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised at the quality of the product that's going out there.
There are some pretty familiar names, who didn't play at UCF on this roster too. For example, Will Hill, who played at Florida, is there. Lewis Murphy, who has some NFL experience. The quarterback for the ostensibly the starter. He was the first pick or the Apollos rather, first round selection in the quarterback draft. Was Garrett Gilbert, who played at SMU and before that played at Texas. He's a pretty familiar face too. Stephen Morris, who played at Miami, is going to be one of his backups. But of all those guys, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. Of the guys that you've talked to, who are the guys on this team who fans of the Apollos and people who end up following the team are going to kind of be the fan favorites? Who are the guys who you talk to who are going to be like, you know what, these are the guys who are going to be, wait till you get to Orlando, because everyone's going to be rooting for this guy?
I think there are a few of those guys. You mentioned Lewis Murphy. Lewis Murphy is a great story. He's one of the older guys on the team. He's been on 5 NFL teams. He's 31. Some of the guys call him Uncle Murph or OG Murph. He was getting ready to retire from football until the Alliance popped up, and he's got some aspirations to maybe work in a front office someday, and he's here competing, playing hard in camp, mentoring the other guys, and also learning a lot about the business side of football at the same time. And he looks revitalized out there. Every time the ball's thrown his way, he's not afraid to go up and make a play for it. He's really pushing himself hard. He's a guy people are going to want to root for. Obviously, you mentioned Garrett Gilbert was our first round pick. Coach Spurrier hasn't really named a starter yet, but he does say Garrett is a little bit ahead of the other 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And he played week 17 for the Carolina Panthers this year and got into the game. I mean, he's one of those guys that has NFL level talent and poise. We've got you won't be able to miss somebody like Earl Okine, one of our outside linebackers who played at Florida. He's 6'7". He'll be the biggest guy out there on the defense when you come watch the Apollos, and he's just becoming a beast rushing off the edge in our 3-4. He's going to be fun to watch. And then we've got, Marvin Bracey Williams, who's a former Olympic sprinter at wide receiver who played at Florida State for a little while. We've got some electric, athletic guys on both sides of the ball that really fans are going to enjoy watching.
Well, I know how much fans are going to enjoy watching Coach Spurrier's offense as well. Let me ask you about some of the other teams that are out there. You mentioned that it's an 8-team league, 4 in the West, 4 in the East. You have teams in non-NFL markets. For example, you have the San Diego Fleet. You have a team in Salt Lake City, a team in San Antonio, which is great. They're playing in the Alamo Dome. Some of the teams that Orlando is going to be playing against include the Atlanta Legends, for example, which I think is the only. Is that the only team that has that plays in the same city as an NFL franchise?
The Arizona Hotshots.
Arizona, that's right.
Sun Devil Stadium, but it's the Phoenix market. So.
Right. And then the Atlanta team they don't play in the Dome. They play at Georgia State's stadium, Old Turner Field, too. And Justin Holman, who actually used to play at UCF, was one of their quarterbacks on the roster as well. But when you look around the other rosters and you see the other coaches, who are some of the teams that stand out that Apollo fans should keep an eye out for?
Well, we had a joint practice with Arizona last week. Rick Neuheisel is the head coach out there. Their offense, if you're a UCF fan, you're going to probably like watching their offense. They run that up-tempo kind of spread style, athletic quarterbacks that can run. They like to throw it deep. So they'll be fun to watch. They're going to put up a lot of points. You look at the Birmingham Iron. They've got Trent Richardson at running back. That's going to be fun to see him back out there getting after it again. Michael Vick is making his coaching debut as an offensive coach for the Legends in Atlanta. So not sure what kind of innovative things he's going to bring to the table as a coach out there. And San Diego has Mike Martz as their head coach. And if you watched any football in the last 20 years, you know what to expect from a Mike Martz football team.
Offense, and more offense.
Yeah, they're starting to call the San Diego offense the greatest show on surf.
Nice.
Yeah. So that they're going to be, I think, a fun team to watch as well. And the Apollos, we're no slouch in the offense department either. We've got one of the greatest offensive minds in football ever as our head coach and offensive coordinator. And, it's funny because, everyone assumed coming in, okay, coach is going to run the fun and gun kind of thing. It's the stuff we've seen before, but he's really, even in his time away from coaching, become a student of offensive football. And he talks a lot about how much offensive football has changed just in the last 3 years or so. And you're going to see some new wrinkles in this system and some things that maybe you wouldn't expect from a Steve Spurrier offense, but you can definitely expect it to still be aggressive and looking to put points up on the board. Some of us on the team staff have started calling the new 2019 version the sun and gun because Apollo is the god of the sun. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys can do with all the speed we have on offense and running that system.
Well, opening day is fast approaching, February 9th at Spectrum Stadium, 8 p.m. week one. I almost said UCF. Orlando plays the Atlanta Legends. Their home games are the 23rd against Memphis, March the 16th against Arizona, and then they finish with back-to-back home games, April 6th against San Diego and April 14th against Birmingham. All right, I want to talk about media and where teams can watch the Apollos if they can't get to Spectrum Stadium to watch the games in person. I know that the television contract is with CBS. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, we're going to have our first game, our launch game on February 9th is going to be broadcast nationally on CBS, mainline CBS. We're also going to have games on CBS Sports Network throughout the season. So UCF fans are familiar with that from a few years back watching UCF there. And there could be some other things coming as well, other ways to watch Alliance games. But you'll definitely get your Alliance fix on CBS and CBS Sports Network throughout the season. The championship game will also be on the main CBS network.
Cool. And the radio crew is also a couple of familiar names. Jamie Say from Channel 6 is doing play-by-play. I've known Jamie since I actually interned for her at Channel 9 in Syracuse some 12 years ago. So I was so happy for her that she got there. Rennie Angolia, who's done his share of UCF games on the ESPN family of networks. And Jerry O'Neill's working the sidelines. Have you talked with them? How excited are they to get this going?
They're real excited, and as a UCF grad and fan myself, I'm really happy to be working with Jerry and our whole broadcast team. They're great. We're lucky to have the level of talent that we have in the broadcast booth for our radio games.
And you can listen to the Apollos on Real Radio 104.1. And, by the way, since it's at Spectrum Stadium, I know that a lot of UCF fans are interested in coming and seeing some spring football. So if they want to get tickets, Tom, how can fans come to Spectrum to see the Apollos?
You can get tickets at orlandoapollos.com/tickets. The tailgating fun at UCF doesn't have to stop just because the college football season's over. We're hoping to pack the bounce house and beat down Atlanta for our launch game on the 9th. Season tickets start at $75, and we've got about 30,000 tickets in the stadium that are in the $30 range. It's a real affordable night out for the family. So orlandoapollos.com/tickets.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at Ticketmaster now. Maybe about $20 a ticket's pretty good. And how are they going to work that out with the stadium too? Because it's I know that they want to make sure that the stadium is as full as possible for these games. So how's it going? Any details on how it's going to work inside Spectrum Stadium?
In terms of what exactly?
Just in general seating, where most of the fans going to be seated when they come to see the game.
As far as I know, all of the stands are open, just like it would be for a UCF game. We're not closing off any sections. Part of the sort of blueprint in the alliance is, we're playing in college stadiums to start, so that we can make sure we pack everything in.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I know, we're not closing anything off. We want to pack that place and get it rocking, just like if the Knights were on the field.
Super smart, man, because it's the right venue for a league like this, and it just seems like everything has been every move that they've made has been the exact right move. So good stuff. And where will we be able to catch your work, Tommy? Because you're a UCF alum. You're hashtag built by UCF too,
That's right. I am proud of it. You can find me on Twitter at the Tom Alexander. Instagram, I write and I know stuff. And you can see my Apollos Insider reports on the Apollos social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those things. We are at AAF Apollos.
All-time
my
great.
articles appear every day on orlandoapollos.com.
All-time great Instagram handle, by the way. I always love that ever since I've seen you on that. So, Tom Alexander from the Orlando Apollos team reporter. Once again, opening night for the Apollos at Spectrum Stadium, complete with about 8 different UCF alumni. February 9th, 2019. That's a Saturday night. So Saturday nights are going to be fun at Spectrum once again. Tommy, thanks again. Congratulations on working with the Apollos. I'm real happy for you. And stay in touch. I'm hoping I'll see you at some games this year.
Yeah, I hope to see you there. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. And thanks again to our buddy Tom Alexander. Again, AAF Apollos on Twitter. I don't know about you guys. I've said this before, but I'm actually pretty excited for this team. It seems like they're pulling all the right strings in order to try and make a second professional league work. They know what their place is. They know what they can do. They know what they shouldn't do. And I'm excited for it to get started. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like having a pro football team and seeing guys develop in the spring. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one. Am I?
Here's what I'll say about it. Obviously, hopefully it works out for them. It's cool. I'm not against more sports. I do think the spring has become a lot harder. I know there are a percentage of people that just want football year round and all that. I get that. But I don't think there's a lot of competition now. Obviously the NBA now, for example, is bigger than ever before. I mean, it is arguably a strong number 2 sport as far as in the United States and globally, from a popularity. You got Major League Baseball is about to start up. They're doing fine despite what, they're very well. You've got MLS now, which, in their markets are doing well, respectively. You got college baseball, college softball going on, PGA golf going on, Tiger Woods back. There's a lot of stuff going on to follow, And it'll be interesting to see how they do, as long as their expectations are realistic, because I feel like leagues before did not have realistic expectations.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And the thing I do think is, it feels like, Jeff, and I've listened to the conversation, the thing that's a positive for this league is I feel like they have their expectations are realistic.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, that's definitely the case. And Tommy alluded to that as well, is that the expectations for success are realistic. And also, I think that the most important thing is they're not approaching this from a businessy gimmick standpoint. They're focusing on the quality of the football first. Every one of these kinds of leagues, the quality of play is what eventually led to their downfall. And you can say that about the first go round with the XFL. You could say that about the World League. You could say that about, really, you can't say that about the USFL, because the quality of play in the USFL actually picked up over the course of its, brief 3 years of existence. But it's the football comes first. And I think if the football comes first, they can find their niche. And I think it's also worth saying, kind of what you alluded to, Eric, is, let's say the Magic, peter out to finish out the year. Orlando City has kind of lost their momentum from the first couple years of that franchise's existence. They had such a good start, and now it seems like they're blowing it. So if the Apollos and Steve Spurrier can gain a little bit of traction in this first season, win some games, ultimately people, customers, the paying customer wants to see a quality product and wants to have a good time. They want to see a team that wins. And if this team can win, that to me is probably it is. You are what your record says you are, as Bill Parcells said, and I think that's true for every team in every league.
I would just like to say too that yes, I do hope everything goes well for the players, and certainly we talked about the broadcasters, whom we all know.
Jamie and Rennie and all those guys. Yeah,
we're very excited for this league. I would just like to say my stance comes from a selfish fan perspective of I'm a person who does not need football around the calendar. I need a break, especially after all the money I lost in DFS this year. It was not good. So let's move on to baseball and try it again.
Yeah.
Look, I do think there's a percentage of people that arena football used to be big, and now it's not. And partly it's because the way they run themselves to the ground, but they kind of, they took, that people got. I do agree. I think there are people in sports in general today. It's fascinating, Jeff. It's so different than when we grew up, right? Because when we grew up, we watched everything. At least I did. Because first of all, that was that was the only thing that was on. So, for example, if tennis was the only thing on TV, that's what you're watching. Well, now you don't have to. Now everybody has so many options that they can watch whatever they want. If you're a football person, you can watch the NFL Network year-round. If you're an NBA person, you can watch the NBA year-round. Baseball. If you're not even if you don't want to be a sports fan, you don't have to be, because you can watch all your programs, whatever you want to watch. And I think, we're seeing that with attendance in sporting events and everything, that it's not like it used to be where, like, hey, let's go see the sporting event. And no, we got a million options. In Orlando, I'm not going to, let's brag, boys. There's a reason why Murph came back to Orlando. It's a beautiful city. It is the city beautiful, after all. It's the most number one tourist place for a reason. Look at the weather outside. When you're complaining about the 60-degree weather, life's good, and that's a challenge because there are a million things to do, and it's such a different time. So that's the challenge. And as long as the league understands that, and they got a great deal with TV, right, Jeff? They got CBS on board.
Oh yeah, that was the last thing also that I wanted to bring up is guess who carries the Super Bowl this year?
Well,
CBS. And what have we been seeing throughout the end of the regular season and the playoffs is on CBS promos for the Alliance. So guess what? You're going to probably get, one or two promos for the Alliance on the most watched television program of the year in the Super Bowl. So it's not like people aren't going to hear about it. I think that was kind of fortuitous how it worked out like that. So
I will say that if it won't happen. But if the league can somehow convince CBS to have Tony Romo call their games, People will watch. I know I will, because I'll watch anything.
Tony might need a job in the spring. Yeah, let's see. I would if I was CBS, I'd put him out there. Why not?
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was the MVP of the AFC Championship, in my opinion. No question. So.
And he's the only reason why I'll watch the Super Bowl. It certainly won't be because of the team.
All right. So once again, thanks to Tom, and make sure you check out the Apollos, as their opening kickoff is on Saturday night, February the 9th, 6 days after the Super Bowl. All right.
Ball coach, Steve Curry,
and the ball coach, yeah. We've got a couple of updates that I wanted to pass along. Tennis is underway. For UCF Tennis, not just talking about the Australian Open that you two knuckleheads stay up all night watching. Men's tennis they got off to they started their season on January 19th at Arkansas. They lost 4-3, but they head out to Northern California. They play Stanford and then either Oregon or Minnesota this weekend in Palo Alto at the ITA kickoff weekend. So, and that's before they come back on the 31st, a Thursday at 6 o'clock to play Florida at the Collegiate Tennis Center at the USTA National Campus. So that'll be their home opener down at the National Tennis Center against the Gators Thursday, January 31st. We gotta
go, Jeff.
We gotta go. Yeah,
no excuses this year.
I know. I want to go. I want to see if I can go for that match too. It's a Thursday night. I'll see if I can bring Connor. That should be fun. Women's tennis is already 2-1 on the season. They beat Georgia Southern on January 18th, and then beat Stetson the same day, 7-0. They're already ranked. They started the season ranked number 20. Lost to Florida State 5-2, and Florida State's number 15. So UCF dropped down to number 22 in the all important rankings, right, Eric Lopez? So in there,
don't get Coach Roddick started on.
I know. So in the ITA kickoff weekend, they are facing Northwestern on Saturday, and then who's ranked number 20, and then either number 17 Miami or number 23 Tulsa on Sunday. So that's on the 26th and the 27th. So pretty good schedule. Yeah, these teams. They have some serious schedules, these teams, man. The women's team is Baylor, Alabama, Ole Miss, Florida, Yale, Tulane, Penn. These Ivy League schools are amazing at tennis, by the way. Illinois, FIU, USF, obviously, men's team on their schedule, Miami, Tulane, Penn State, UVA, who, if I'm not mistaken, they won a national championship just recently, UVA, Texas Tech, FAU, USF, it just goes on and on.
Virginia's a powerhouse when it comes to men's and women's tennis. In fact, they just had one of their alums, Collins, make the semifinals in the Australian Open. And look, I mean, we've had Coach Roddick on and Coach Konecko on last year, and they both talked about it. You're starting to see more. The college product in tennis is so much better now, because you're seeing more and more good players going in and playing college instead of just going straight to the pros.
Right.
And you're starting to see the results in the professional level with these college players having success. So, and really, again, credit to Danny White, as I will mention again. You've got two tennis programs that could be top 25 teams. Remember, the men's team didn't make the tournament. They just missed last year. They were so young. And then the women's team made the NCAA tournament for the first time in like 16 years, won the first round, second round. You could have, Jeff, could it be? That's going to be the interesting storyline. Can both men and women tennis actually make the tournament in the same year, both be top 25 teams? That's remarkable. Keep in mind, they both will host the American Conference Championships. We'll be in Lake Nona this year in April.
Yeah, and that should be fun, too. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as the season progresses.
We're going to go out there, boys. We got to get out there.
Yeah, I want to get out there because I know how beautiful it is. I want to pick a nice weather day. You know, we got some good ones coming up too, Elo. So we'll have to head on out there. Murph, I know you want to come out there too. So, and we'll have to talk to our
former UCF SID Brian Ormiston.
I was just going to say,
he's been telling me to come out there as well.
Yeah, we got to get with Bormo and head on down there. So I on behalf of the entire media outlet, I would like to apologize to Bormo for not going down there sooner. But we're going to make it down there this year. By God, it's going to happen.
Don't worry, he'll yell at us, especially Murph.
He hasn't seen us in like a couple years, so he has like a lot of yelling at us to like make up for. So, some other news and notes from UCF. A couple contract extensions got announced in the last couple days. First, Todd Dagenais, head volleyball coach, with a contract extension through 2023, of course, he's coming off his team's best season under his guidance with that amazing winning streak that they had, finished 27-4, conference championship. Todd is signed through 2023. It was actually a 2-year extension of his contract. And well-deserved. Of course, I'm going to say this because, I've known Todd since he came to UCF. Well-deserved, undefeated conference record last year, American Coach of the Year for the second time in his career, and actually pushed UCF into the rankings, the top 25 for the first time in program history. He's 25 wins now from breaking Lucy McDaniel's all-time program record she stands at 236. He's 25 away. One more good year, and he could possibly break that as well and become the winningest head volleyball coach in UCF history. So well done for Todd. And another extension to pass along as well. On the men's soccer side, Scott Calabrese, head coach, just signed to a contract extension through 2023. He's coming off of his second year at UCF, where the Knights they were the conference regular season champs. They finished 13-3-3. Obviously, a heartbreaking loss in the first round of the NCAA. But in his 2 years at UCF, the Knights are 21-5-6. So that gives you a really good idea of how Scott Calabrese has picked up the baton and turned this program in the right direction. So yeah, it looks like, and I'll have to go back and look at exactly who's locked up through when, but results breed. It's the spoils. To the victor goes the spoils, right? And certainly Scott Calabrese and Todd Dagenet have coached their teams into that proper position, and they're both excellent coaches, and we really appreciate their support on the show as they have had as well, right, Eric?
That's right. If you come on this show, you're going to get extended. Karma that we come in, right, Murph? You come in the show, you get taken care of. Or if you win a conference championship, that might help.
Yeah, we win a conference championship, all that kind of. Why not?
But no, look, that's the thing about Danny White, and I think the message is clear. If you're successful, you're going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
And let's be honest. Both of them getting these extensions, I'm sure that both know those names have probably came up for other jobs in volleyball and men's soccer, and you want to just nip that right away from a recruiting standpoint and from everything. Not that they were looking to leave, but that's how this works. If you're successful, your name gets floated at other jobs, and so. But Danny's done this with all the coaches. I know Babe's gotten extensions. Tiff's. Everybody's gotten extensions there, and if you win and you are successful, you're going to get taken care of. And I think that's a positive message to send out to your coaches that hey, you if you perform. You produce on and off the field, because academics is a part of this as well. Both sides have done well academic wise, but certainly on the court, winning the conference championship, you're gonna get taken care of.
Cool. All right, so
feel free to come on to us. If you come on with us, you will definitely be on the. If you're all out there, if you're all you coaches, you come on to our show. Think good things happen.
It's the old BGB bump.
That's right. Why not?
Like it? Let's go. Let's copyright.
Couple things I wanted to, one more note I wanted to pass along. Shaquem Griffin was actually back in town this week to receive the 2019 NCAA Inspiration Award at the 2019 NCAA Honors Celebration. The NCAA convention is in town, so it was good to see Shaquem back in his old stomping grounds and getting, again, a well-deserved award for him. And then one other thing that came by that you and I know are really excited about, Eric Lopez, the UCF Hall of Fame is cranking back up. They're dusting off the nominations for the Hall of Fame for the first time in 4 years. And you can submit anyone can submit nominations for a Hall of Fame. For the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. But we've been working on this for a while now, talking about future UCF Hall of Famers. You and I had both heard some rumors that they were trying to start the Hall of Fame back up. There is an inkling to actually physically build a UCF Athletics Hall of Fame within one of the new buildings on campus over by the athletic complex. I hope that they do that, because that's something that we really, really do have to do. But yeah, This is fun to see, and I think it's a maximum of 5 in the class. They plan on doing it once every 2 years. They skipped it in 2017. I don't know why, but they are planning on doing this again. So we just posted. It was Hall of Fame weekend. It was Hall of Fame weekend for elections for baseball. Murph, I know you and I were really excited about Mariano Rivera becoming the first unanimous selection in Baseball Hall of Fame history. I think if and I'll just put this to you guys. First of all, let me tell everyone listening that if you go to our website and you search for future UCF Hall of Famers, you'll see a bunch of articles that we've done on football players, and also one that sort of lists all the baseball players. We're going to have several of them coming out over the next couple of weeks on different sports, and also finishing off the football ones. But I will just ask of you guys at the moment. Now, I think it's Eric? It's a 10-year eligibility.
Yeah, although I kind of read some of their deals. There's a chance that you might even be eligible 7 years. But yeah, I did mine based on 10 years eligibility. Here
it is. Student athletes who completed their eligibility and immediately graduated from UCF will be eligible July 1st, 7 years following completion of their eligibility. Student athletes who left UCF prior to the completion of their eligibility, so someone who left school early, but subsequently received
like
a degree.
NFL player that goes early.
Right. Now that's the trick. You have to have received your degree. It will be eligible on July 1st, 10 years following the date they left UCF. So if you left early, that would put you in 2009 territory. If you graduated, you got your degree, you're looking at 2012. So I'll throw it to you guys. Give me one UCF athlete that you know graduated who should be like a surefire Hall of Famer based on for whatever sport that you want. Give me one name that you think they should consider right now. I know, Eric. You have like 50. We'll let you start.
That's the problem. In all seriousness, I mean, there's going to be a lot of names. And you mentioned this, by skipping this, that 2017, there's a lot of names. Like in football, for example, do they go for this year, do they go Kevin Smith? Well, Kevin Smith's coaching at FAU. Do they put George O'Leary? Coaches, what's the criteria with coaches? Do they put him right away? Do they put a guy like Brandon Marshall, who I have a feeling, call me conspiracy guy. Brandon Marshall, help me out here, Jeff, because I think you saw this live. Maybe you did too, Murph, where Brandon Marshall was on one of the NFL Network pregame shows or something like that, and he was singing the UCF fight song or something. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, he was on NFL Network.
Yeah, we tweeted it out on NFL Network.
And his last year was 2005. Now, I don't know if he got his degree and when he did, but I do know he's been back on the UCF campus. I think he's certainly a contender to be inducted soon here in the Hall of Fame. So I don't know, man. It's tough because there's going to be a lot of interesting cases. Now, one thing I will say, I'll go this way. Clay Tipner, I think, needs to be the next baseball player to get inducted. The guy is phenomenal. He inducted Dee Brown when we were there, Jeff, in 2015. I think he needs to be the next baseball player. The question, and then I think that beyond that, it depends on what direction you want to go. Do you put Kevin Smith in now, or do you wait till his coaching? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Those are some of the things they're going to have to figure out. But I think Clay Tipner is the baseball. Basketball, do you go to Dexter Lyons or do you go right to Jermaine Taylor? See, and that's where this competition is going to be very interesting. And we're not even talking about the women's sports and the competition that's going to be there as far as all the sports. So this is going to be fascinating how they come up with it, and only limiting it to 5 really makes it very difficult.
By the way, I can confirm that Brandon Marshall, even though he left UCF 1 year early with 1 year of eligibility remaining, did in fact complete his bachelor's degree in 2006. So he's eligible. Yes.
And I think that could be – I could see him being the next football player to be inducted, and that way they'll buy some time with Kevin Smith. Because it's depending on – this is the thing we don't know, Jeff, right, at the time of this recording, is when is this Hall of Fame going to take place? Is it going to be in the spring like it's been, or are they going to move it to the fall? Because that could impact who's available and who's not available to attend.
Well, they are accepting nominations until midnight on February 3rd, and I don't see anything in the release about.
I may or may not have already sent in my. I may or may not have sent in some of my articles.
You can send them in. Yeah. We may as well just send them the whole giant list of articles that we've done already. Murph, I'll throw it to you. Since player who's graduated since 2009 or left early before 2012, who do you think would be has to be in?
Yeah, it's interesting how Eric brought up Dexter Lyons and Jermaine Taylor, which made me think of Josh Peppers kind of right away.
Yeah.
Like he's sort of in that realm as well. Look, Chris Duffy probably doesn't deserve the Hall of Fame aspect, but he just does for the fact that he is like one of the greatest UCF sports anecdotes of all time, which would be the class of 2010 Golden Spikes Award finalists, of which Chris Duffy was one of 5. The other 4 in 2010 were University of Miami alum Yasmani Grandal, University of Mississippi alum Drew Pomeranz.
Yeah, pretty good.
Florida Gulf Coast alum Chris Sale.
Pretty good.
And some catcher out of Southern Nevada named Bryce Harper.
Never heard of him.
Wow.
And so
who used to play Major League Baseball? No, but he's no longer.
He's not right now because no one wants to pay him a dime. So that alone was like, wow, maybe we should just put Chris Duffy on that list alone because obviously those other guys are pretty good.
You mentioned that. I mean, in my story that I just came out with the baseball, his numbers are really good in his career. I mean, you might be surprised. Obviously, his last year was a monster year. It's the best year he's ever had. But I mean, I can see him getting consideration, but he's not going to be the first guy getting in. I think a Clay Tipner gets in before him. Maybe even a Shane Brown or I mean, that baseball is going to have a lot of guys. You talk about competition. Holy, that was a hard article just to limit it to the number that I did because there's a ton of players. And Jeff, you've brought it up. They've done a great job of honoring a lot of their players with their All of Honor on the wall there. Yeah. That's going to be interesting over the coming years there. I mean, I've been asked about softball, for example. Is it going to be Allison Kime or is it going to be Janae Shinhoster? Is it going to be both? I don't know. That's going to be interesting how they figured this out in not just this year but in coming years.
Yeah, I personally think that I would go with Jermaine Taylor, just because if you think about if you just threw out who are the best players for UCF at any particular sport that we've seen, I think Jermaine takes the cake. He's the all-time D1 scoring leader. I hope he gets in. I don't know. I wish they didn't. The problem is, I wish they didn't limit it to 5 people. I wish they just had the class be look, there's a threshold, and however many, like the Baseball Hall of Fame, however many guys make the threshold get in, and however many don't. So I don't know, but then again, they don't put us in charge, unfortunately. So we'll be send in your nominations for over to UCF Athletics, and we'll continue to blast these stories out all the way up through that February 3rd. Deadline, so that should be a lot of fun to see. I'm looking forward to it. I know the last time we had the induction, you and I got to cover it, Eric, and we saw the 78 volleyball team. We saw Dee Brown. We saw Stephanie Best got in, and Asante Samuel got in too. So they did a great job with it the last time. I'm hoping that the first Danny White led UCF Hall of Fame induction. They really do it up nice, and I have every reason to think that they would. All right, let's finish this thing up as we roll out through what. No, this won't be our last show in January. We got one more coming up before next week. Brian, we'll start with you. What do you got coming up that you're working on?
Well, tomorrow, which will be Friday, is kind of busy. We'll have basketball availability tomorrow early afternoon. So we'll talk to Coach Dawkins and a couple of players about the game at Memphis on Sunday. And then that is immediately preceding Baseball Media Day out at the John, in which we'll have 10 players, including Coach Lovelady and other coaches, talking to us. Last year we had a similar setup. It lasted like an hour. So I'll be out at UCF Baseball for quite a long time tomorrow talking to guys as we are about 3 weeks away from the start of baseball season.
Yeah, are you going to bring the RV out there and just camp out?
Camp out overnight. Yeah, definitely camp out overnight.
Just right there in the outfield, right by the party deck. Elo, what do you got?
Maybe following Brian all over the place on Friday as well. I mean, I've got a I got a longer day than Murph does. I will be interviewing. I'll be over at softball because I got to try to record an interview with the new head coach, Cindy Ball Malone, for not only the Banneret, but for Fats Bench News, getting ready for the softball season, trying to cross some dots there. Then I'm going to head over for basketball media availability. As soon as Murph tells me when I need to show up for that, I'll show up to that because I don't know if I've been the one this year, but I'll try to go to this one. And then I'll be at Baseball Media Day to hear Coach Lovelady, and I'll try to ask Lovelady his Royal Rumble predictions maybe on the side when everybody's done with their, quote, baseball questions.
To get the important story.
Whatever. So, yeah, I'll be over there. I might just email Megan Herbeth and find out what women's basketball is doing. Just hit them up, too. Just catch everybody. Just go catch everybody. And then later that night, I'm covering Magic Wizards, which is my other gig I do, is a playoff implications in the Eastern Conference.
Playoff implications.
Playoffs.
And then on the Banneret, as Jeff has mentioned, I'm going to continue my series, Hall of Famers, who I think which UCF athletes should be considered for the Hall of Fame in various sports. Baseball one just came out. Murph was outraged. He screamed at me.
Yes.
He wanted Mariano Rivera in there, too, apparently. No, just kidding. We're going to have other sports come in and also football as well. We're going to have softball, basketball, all the athletes. Feel free to at me and complain that I left somebody out because I'm sure I did.
We're already getting those, by the way, Eric. I should mention from the baseball one.
I have no sympathy. Yeah, I have no sympathy for the committee because this is not going to be easy.
I blame our friend Sam Unger who is a huge UCF baseball fan. He hasn't gotten mad at us about any of these, but like for crying out loud, he's like, I'm sure that he tells people. I'm sure that Sam tells people, hey, you got to mention this guy or that guy, especially for baseball, because I know how much Sam cares about UCF baseball. But I want to thank Sam again for his help, though. In all seriousness, he's been a tremendous help. So thanks again to Sam. Thanks again to you guys. Make sure you follow us individually on Twitter, Jeff_Sharon, Eric Lopez Elo, and Spokes_Murphy on Twitter. Follow all of us collectively at UCF_Banneret. I've got a couple things actually coming up. I'm looking back at, I'm doing a little twofer. We're looking at veteran UCF nights in the NFL, how everybody did, who had the best year, who did not. And we're also going to look at the rookie class as well. And I'm going to look at mentioning a couple of the guys who are on the Orlando Apollos roster from UCF. We'll be kicking off with them on the 9th. So be on the lookout for those pieces as well. Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. If you want to follow us on Facebook, please do. We post all of our stuff there as well. And, of course, blackandgoldbanneret.com. We are SB Nation's home for your UCF nights. Subscribe to this podcast. Give us a rating as well on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn. Leave us a comment. Tell us how we're doing. We love to hear from you as well. And make sure you can reach out to us as well on Twitter and also at blackandgoldbanneret.com. For Eric Lopez and Brian Murphy, I'm Jeff Sharon. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Enjoy the weekend. We'll catch you next week.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.